Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today and talk with you about the math and science curriculum. I have a brief outline of what I would like to explore with you today. And essentially, for this webinar, I'd like to talk with you about the new curriculum model and how it relates to the math and science curriculum. Share with you briefly a bit of information on what's new and what's the same between the IRPs and the 10 to 12 drafts that we have available online. Talk with you about some of the deep structure in the redesigned curriculum that's specific to subject areas, and speak with you about how First Peoples perspectives and worldviews have been incorporated. And then finally, talk with you a bit about some of our new math and science courses that we have in draft for grades 10 to 12. So many of you have maybe seen this slide previously, and it's one that we have used often to be able to talk about some of the changes in curriculum. As you know, the world is rapidly changing for our students, and while British Columbia has one of the best education systems in the world, as we've seen through international assessments like PISA, in which BC ranked first in the world in reading, second in science, and sixth in math. And we recognize these strengths in our education system, but we also acknowledge that the world, it really is rapidly changing. And no doubt this will require a 21st century learner that's able to evolve and to adapt with this change. And that's really why we think it's critical that we refine the education system with you so that our students can succeed in this 21st century environment. So, along this line, to be able to maintain high achievement, BC must transform its education system to one that better engages students in their own learning and fosters the skills and the competencies that students need to succeed. One focus in the transformation in the curriculum that enables and supports increasingly personalized learning is, again, really focused within this curriculum. And personalized learning, it acknowledges that not all students learn successfully at the same rate, within the same learning environment, and in the same ways. And really at the heart of that personalized learning, it focuses on enhancing student engagement in learning by giving students choices. And so we really refer to that as the heart of the new curriculum. We have our curriculum website that I hope that you all have seen. I've listed the URL at the top to be able to connect there. And to be able to support this modernization within the curriculum, we are working on our website to be able to adapt to these things as well. And some of the things that we like to be able to point out is that we've completed extensive consultation with education experts, both locally and internationally, as we've approached this curriculum change. And I think one of the hallmarks of this work has been how the Ministry of Education and BC teachers have been working together on the revisions to the current curriculum that will replace the IRPs, those integrated resource packages. The educated citizen has been one of the foundational pieces for the redesigned curriculum, and these attributes, which were first articulated in some education and policy order that came around somewhere in the late 1980s, it really continues to have meaning today. And the educated citizen was reaffirmed through a series of roundtable discussions that were held with education partners throughout the province in 2011. And some of the things that are, not some of the things, all of the things that are listed on this particular slide regarding the education system, they still hold true for what we're hoping for students today. Within the redesigned curriculum, another key piece that has been foundational to this transformation work has been the First Peoples principles of learning. And these principles, they provide a crucial lens for our teacher teams when they're drafting curriculum. The teams, they really put great effort into embedding Aboriginal knowledge and worldviews into the curriculum in meaningful ways. And this will look different by subject area. You'll see these principles embedded, though, in all areas of learning and at all grade levels, so that it becomes an authentic part of every student's learning journey from kindergarten to grade 12. When we began looking at curriculum redesign back in 2011, through the consultation that was completed provincially, some guiding principles emerged to be able to shape and talk about what sorts of pieces should be at the forefront within a curriculum design. And one of the pieces that has really resonated for us over time has been that we're really talking about concept-based and competency-driven curricula. So a concept-based curriculum, it uses concepts to define standards of knowledge and skills within each area of learning. Concept-based means that it's built around higher order standards and key ideas, and this is what allows for more in-depth exploration of topics to allow us to get at those deeper understandings. It also balances the study of factual information with the development of conceptual understanding. It offers opportunities for the transfer of learning because topics are not covered in isolation from one another. And a concept-based curriculum, it allows for connections between big ideas. And so as we've talked about many of these guiding principles, core competencies have been really explicit in the redesign, and this focus on important concepts and big ideas that are inherent to the area of learning are key, and those pieces, of course, all leading towards that emphasis on higher order and deeper learning. I mentioned in my earlier slide about integrating and embedding First Peoples principles of learning and Aboriginal knowledge and worldviews in all areas of learning, and that has been a real key focus. When we talk about things being competency-driven, it really refers to the ability of students to perform a task as expected within an area of learning. And that ability, it represents a combination of skills, processes, behaviors, and really importantly, habits of mind. Competencies, they represent a much broader and more adaptable achievement than simply a set of skills. Other guiding principles that I'll highlight for you are just reducing the prescriptive nature in curriculum, allowing for that flexibility and choice, going back to that personalization piece, enabling teachers to be creative and innovative in the design of their learning experience, and really importantly, aligning assessment and reporting with the redesign of the curriculum. This slide speaks to the know, do, understand curriculum model. In all areas of learning, they're based on this KDU, as we refer to it, that really connects this notion of supporting a concept-based, competency-driven approach to learning. So there's three elements that are highlighted within the model, and focusing on the know, which really is where content learning standards reside, and then do, through the curricular competency learning standards, the combination of those leading to the big ideas that represent the broad understandings. And these pieces, they all work together to be able to support deeper learning. Foundational to the KDU are core competencies. And core competencies, they're the sets of intellectual, personal, and social and emotional proficiencies that all students need to develop in order to engage in deep learning and in lifelong learning. And core competencies are evident in every area of learning. However, I do want to note that they manifest themselves uniquely within each discipline area. If you haven't seen this before, this is just really trying to explain when you see curriculum on a page from the website. And from a structural perspective, at the top of the screen, you'll see where all the introductory materials for the area of learning reside. In this example for social studies, just beneath the top, what it's referring to is the introduction to social studies, the goals and rationale for that area of learning, some information on what's new that you would find in the curriculum, and a curriculum overview. Below that are links to the core competencies, and then when you see the circles beneath that, it's where the big ideas sit. Below the big ideas, on the left side, you'll see the curricular competencies, and you'll see even by physical proportion on the screen that really has been where the emphasis is within this curriculum model. And then on the right side, that being balanced with the content, fully acknowledging that content still remains important for students and becomes the lens through which they're able to get at the doing of anything within an area of learning. Below that, you'll find the final layer, which includes some supporting materials. And we have things in there about Aboriginal education, about student supports. There's links to instructional samples and information about flexible learning environments. So on each web page, you'll see there's a lot of information that can be accessed almost in a one-stop shop kind of way. If you're looking on the website at drafts for grade 10 to 12, you'll see them in a form like this. And if you're looking to print curriculum, this is also the form that it comes out in, that you can either access a PDF or a Word document, again through the curriculum website. And at the top, you'll see where the big ideas are sitting, focusing on the understand. Again, below that, the learning standards include the curricular competencies and the content, which make up the knowing and the doing. So I'm going to shift gears and tell you a little bit about where things are at for the mathematics 10 to 12 curriculum. So for grades 10 to 12, just at a very high level to let you know what's new, we have 14 redesigned courses in grades 10, 11, and 12, and these are discipline specific. They include 5 courses that are brand new, and all of these are posted online right now for feedback. The new courses, they include a History of Mathematics 11, a Computer Science 11 and 12, a Geometry 12, and a Statistics 12. And some of the other pieces that are new to the math curriculum at this range is just a real focus on increased flexibility and space for teacher innovation, student passions, and just greater depth of study. That's really what is at the heart of providing more white space within this curriculum. Another piece that I'll mention is that there also is a focus on inquiry, project-based, hands-on, and interdisciplinary approaches within these curricular documents. With respect to what's the same, the foundational skills and processes in mathematics, they still remain an integral part of the math curriculum, and they reside in both the content and the curricular competencies. This application of the foundational skills to problem solve, it continues to have a really strong focus within the curriculum's goals of developing well-educated citizens. So that remains a key piece for this area of learning. Now, regarding the course list, you'll see from this slide that there are 14 course options that exist between grades 10 and 12, and there's 2 options in grade 10. There are 4 in grade 11 and 7 in grade 12. So the course structure for Math 10 to 12, it's really set at this point, and we don't anticipate adding to or taking away any of the proposed courses where we're at in the development process. The team has worked on writing course descriptions for these courses. Course codes have also been submitted, and they'll be available early fall so that districts and schools can begin to plan for next year when the new curriculum is set to be implemented. To date, some of the feedback themes that we have heard so far are listed on this slide. And the math team has already met once this fall already. And during that meeting, the team reviewed all of the feedback that has been received to date. And they arrived at these 3 broad themes. So there is specific feedback that has been itemized, but for the purpose of this webinar, we've just listed the 3 themes for you. What we've heard primarily has been that the weight of courses, particularly in Foundations of Mathematics 11 and 12 and Pre-Calc 11 and 12, needs to have some more consideration. There needs to be more elaborations across all math courses and more support for Aboriginal perspectives and connections within the curriculum. And so the math team is working on that right now to be able to address those themes. So switching over to science, same sort of approach here. I'd like to share with you a bit about what's new for the grades 10 to 12. So we have 13 redesigned courses, and these as well are discipline specific, and they include a renewed focus on environmental science. So the new courses include an environmental science 11 and 12. We have a science for citizens 11 and a specialized science 12. And I would say another highlight within what's new for this area of learning is a focus on place-based learning, contextualized within the local environment. The other thing would just be more flexibility and space for that teacher innovation, student passions, and being able to go deeper into areas of interest for greater depth of study. What remains the same from the current IRPs, I would say, would be those foundational skills, processes, and habits of mind of science. And they remain an integral part of the curriculum, and they're situated within the curricular competencies. The senior level course options, they also continue to support diverse learners with varying levels of interest in science, and they take consideration just a variety of learner pathways that could follow grade 12. So on the science course list here, within the new course list, there are a few changes from the science IRPs that I'd like to highlight. The current IRPs, they include applications of physics 11 and 12, and these have actually been subsumed within the new physics 11 and 12. With the curricular competencies and the curricular emphasis being focused on the doing of science and specifically of physics, this was really a natural fit for this model. Another piece I wanted to highlight was sustainable resources 11 and 12. So much of the information that was included within those courses has now been included within a broadened focus on environmental education that you'll find in environmental science 11 and 12. And you'll find some features of science and technology 11 within the new science for citizens 11. This course is really, it's a hands-on science opportunity that's focused on exploring everyday science within the context of personal home, local workplace, and global applications. So again, it has a very application-based focus. This spring, we worked with our curriculum team to be able to address kind of interim feedback that we had received, much of which was focused on chemistry and physics. So new drafts were actually created for chemistry 11 and 12, physics 11 and 12, and these were posted to the BC Science Teachers Association website in June of this year for feedback. Now, at that same point, when we looked at the interim feedback, the team also wanted to address the feedback that came in regarding the lack of curriculum to support specialty fields of science study. And the response to this was to create Specialized Science 12. Now, this is an innovative science course, and it will allow students to deepen their understanding of a specialty science field, such as astronomy, agriculture, biochemistry, health science, sustainable fishing. I can go on and on. This course, just by construction, it would integrate a minimum of 2 modules from different areas of science, and 5 areas are represented: environmental science, biology, chemistry, physics, and earth and space, to be able to create specialized science learning opportunities. And as with math, the course structure is set for Science 10 to 12 at this point. So during the fall revision and finalization work, we'll focus on addressing feedback that we have received on the other courses that we did not have interim meetings on. And we're also eager to see what feedback has been received from the new course postings that we did in June this year. I just wanted to highlight some of the feedback themes really up to date that we've received on Science 10 to 12. Overall, we've heard that we need to provide more support for Aboriginal perspectives and connections to the curriculum. We've heard some feedback on more of a focus on the scientific method. And I think also a lot of it centered on a lack of detail versus not enough white space. Really, a lot of that coming from the variety of teacher perspectives out there on the conceptual model. There's some ambiguity about depth of coverage of topics that we're trying to address. And the final piece is just making clear that the content is not the emphasis, but the application of content knowledge using those curricular competencies that maybe didn't come as clearly through within those Science 10 to 12 courses. So we will be looking at that in more depth later this fall. So one of the pieces that I wanted to note for you, if you're not aware of this, this is BC's Curriculum Comparison Guide, and it's an information-based guide that we put out in April of this year. It actually has had about 3 different sections go up, and this Curriculum Comparison Guide, it shows a side-by-side view of the IRP with the draft curriculum. And this, it's a living document. The document will continue to be updated to reflect the final versions for next spring. We've heard much from our post-secondary stakeholders on the need for being able to understand the changes that have taken place within the curriculum at the senior level. And we've also heard from career counselors that being able to articulate many of these changes and see them at a glance would be a very helpful resource. And so that's really where this document has come from. I have a few pages here just of slides that show you some examples from the math and science section of the document to just give you a flavor if you haven't seen this previously. So this is the table of contents here for this section of the document, and it focuses, as you can see, on math and science. This one provides a math example here of, from the existing IRP on the left, you can see what Foundations of Mathematics 11 looks like, and it speaks to both content and skill development, and then talks about how this has changed within the new curriculum. And so you can see from there a decrease in learning standards. You can see some of the organizational structure that exists within the new curriculum and how it's organized, where the focus is, and really where the emphasis on skill development resides. This next one is an example from science. This one is highlighting Biology 11 and what that looks like within the current IRPs and how it is shifted within the new curriculum drafts to Life Sciences 11. So one thing that I'll note is that not every course will have a direct replacement for the other. So where there are brand new courses that are not replacing other courses, you'll just see information in the document that's only available on the right-hand side, and it just details in the same way, what sort of content and skill development you would see in those new courses. So as far as next steps, where we're at right now is this fall and into early spring 2018, curriculum teams are going to be meeting. They'll be focusing on a review and analysis of the feedback that has been received, all of this being able to go into the revision of those curriculum drafts based on the feedback, and moving towards a translation of final curriculum into French. We are looking to post final curriculum to the ministry website by spring 2018, and all of this leading towards having curriculum ready for use in the 2018-19 school year by July 2018. I just wanted to also remind folks that there still is an opportunity for feedback on curriculum, and we really welcome and value that input. I know the curriculum teams really rely on what we hear from the field to be able to know what else needs to be addressed or clarified or just given further attention to. So thanks in advance for everything that you've sent in thus far, and again, just welcome any further input that you'd like to send in to us. So the last slide that I have for you here is just about the variety of support materials that are available on the curriculum website. There's all sorts of resources and links that you'll find. There's frequently asked questions, parent brochures, videos. There's a link to Teach BC and all the web instructional materials that are can be accessed through that repository. A number of instructional samples that you'll find that speak to a variety of areas that are available there. So I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to share where we're at on this curriculum work, and again, just to invite your feedback to help us continue to shape this as we work towards that revision and finalization. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Angie. I'm sure everyone appreciated hearing from you about this update and the changes to math and science curriculum, how the ministry and educators are working together to refine the education system for the 21st century, and also to develop the attributes of the educated system, educated citizen. There were quite a few questions. Some of them were to do with math, and I'll send all the questions to you later so they can be, and we'll distribute the answers afterwards. There were also a few questions about science. I'll just go over one or two before we close. One person wanted to know, when is the Science 10 draft going to be finalized?
So science teams will be meeting this fall and into early winter to finalize both Science 10 and all the other curriculum drafts for science within grades 11 and 12.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. And are all the content areas expected to be covered, such as biology 12?
With, sorry, is this one referring to Science 10 or to the other courses?
Well, the questions are all the content areas, Bio 12, still content rich, expected to be covered?
I'm not quite clear on what that one means, but I'm going to say that all the courses that I listed there, one of which would include Anatomy and Physiology 12, which is the replacement for Biology 12, that will be included in the revision as well.
Okay, I'll just ask one more question before we close it down for today. It's will there be curriculum implementation days afforded to grade 10, 12 teachers next year with the implementation of the renewed curriculum?
Yeah, that one's a great question, and I don't really have a response on that at this point. I know that that has been what happened previously with K-9, and if I can find more information out on that, I'll include that with the responses that we email back to you.
Okay, so as I said, I will send all the questions to Angie, and then we will distribute those answers later. If you do want a PowerPoint, quite a few people have emailed me already. Please just send your email and we'll see that the PowerPoint gets out soon. And just before I close off, a reminder, 2 webinars left, Social Studies on Tuesday morning at 7:30, 1 week today at 4 p.m. It's a special 45-minute webinar on graduation assessments and administration of the numeracy assessments. So I just want to close off. Thank you, Angie, very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and I'll say goodbye to everyone.